Hey, what's going on, guys? Elliott here from Movie Files, here to give you my thoughts and opinion, my review on the film Tomb Raider. So this film gets a wide release come March 16th, so I was able to see a little bit early, which is good because if you guys seen our March must-see movies of the month, I was on the fence with this film. The trailers didn't really land with me all the way, but it was two things that really intrigued me. Number one, I'm a fan of the video games. I didn't play the 2013 or 15 version, but I played the 90s and the 2000s, so I'm familiar with it. So there's a little bit of nostalgia there. But number two, and it's probably more number one than anything, is Alicia Vikander. She is a phenomenal performer, and I love her in just about everything I've seen her in. Ex Machina, The Danish Girl. You get to see a little bit of her comedic side, a little bit of her fun side with Man of Uncle, which I really enjoy that film. I think it's an underrated film, but I really enjoy her performance in all her films. So those were really the two things that kind of piqued my interest per se. So if you guys aren't familiar with this format, how we do reviews, if you're new to the channel, number one, subscribe to our page, check out our other content. But this is a non-spoiler review. We always let you guys know if there's a spoiler involved. We'll put it in the title, so no spoilers here. I'm going to touch a little bit on the story. I'm going to touch on my pros, my cons, and then wrap up my final thoughts. So for you guys that aren't familiar with the story, this follows Lara Croft, a feisty, independent daughter of a missing adventurer, must push herself beyond her limits when she finds herself on the island where her father disappeared. So that's as far as I'm going to go with the story, which kind of leads into my pros. Again, Lara Croft, played by Alicia Vikander. I walked out of this film saying that was the best Lara Croft we've got. No disrespect to Angelina Jolie. She's a phenomenal actress, great director. But I really believe Alicia Vikander's performance. She played the role. She transformed herself. She got ripped for the role. She's such a phenomenal performance. She really dives deep into committing herself to this role. She does a great job. I was really walking out of this theater. I just loved her performance as Lara Croft, and I just was a fan of what she gave us in this film. Which leads into the action. You know, she does a great job in the action sequences, and the action in this movie works really well. And particularly, my favorite action scene was by far the boat scene, which was taken out of the 2013 version of the video games, which it's really visceral. I mean, it's a storm. It works really well. It's shot really well. You can see, the director did a movie in 2015 called The Wave, which involves this kind of natural disaster type of film where there's a lot of water, a lot of destruction going on. So he shoots action really well, and which leads into my another positive. Going back to the video games, this this director does a great job of balancing the two acts, which is number one, paying homage and paying respects to those that are familiar with the video game and seeing things that people can relate to and say, oh, I remember that from the video game. But also, too, he shoots this movie for those that aren't too familiar with the video game. And it's great action just for an action movie. So I think he does a great job of doing that, which, in some video game, you get either directors that just really just beat you over the head with, hey, remember this from the video game? Remember this? Well, I'm going to just throw all that in the movie and not have a story or have a character development. So he does a great job of doing that. But unfortunately, not every movie's perfect, which this movie had some flaws. Number one was Walton Goggins is a great actor. I love him in like Django, like small roles in Django, to the TV shows like Vice Principal, and there's other things I've seen him in. But just recently, too, he was in Maze Runner, which this was another version of him in Maze. I mean, I just thought that the villain was just bad. I mean, he really is introduced in the second into the third act of the movie, and it's just like, he didn't even need to be in this film. No disrespect to the actor. I'm pretty sure he gave it all that he had, or at least what he was given. He delivered it as best as he could. But it was just a generic, very underwritten villain, which is unfortunate. But I don't think this movie really needed a villain to begin with. But anyway, his performance wasn't the best for me, which also leads into a couple other things. Daniel Wu, I'm a big fan of him, and he's in the film, but then he's missing like almost entirely halfway through the second and really in the third act. I'm a really big fan of him, and I really want to get more of him in this film. But with that being said, you take some wins with some losses. As long as we got Alicia Vikander, which you get her, all the way throughout the movie, which is what we should do, and her being the lead actress. But I really want to see her and Daniel Wu's dynamic on the screen a little bit more. So another thing that's kind of a negative and a positive, more on the positives of, it's 2 hours. It's like literally right under 2 hours, so it moves quick. But it could have, believe it or not, could have been, so I don't want to say it could have been shortened down. I wish they just would have replaced some scenes, some of the more dragged out kind of I don't want to say boring, but just kind of underdeveloped scenes could have been replaced with more action sequences or more backstory on Walton Goggins' character, or a little bit more on Lara Croft's character, or even Daniel Wu. I thought that there's definitely some moments that could have been injected with some more scenes, which also leads into another negative, which some of the comedy didn't really land for me. That's kind of nitpicky, but I'm not going to lie, some of the comedy was just kind of like bad dialogue. So that being said, guys, I'm going to wrap up my final thoughts here. I really want to kind of read off a list because, the biggest question is does this movie break the curse of bad adaptations of video games? We had things like Mortal Kombat, which I'm a fan of, Super Mario, not really. The first two Lara Croft films, I'm not a fan of at all. Never really liked the Resident Evil franchise. You had Doom, you have Max Payne, which was really bad. But then most recently, you've had things like Need for Speed, Hitman, Warcraft, Assassin's Creed, which is Alicia Vikander's husband, Michael Fassbender, played that role in Assassin's Creed, and that wasn't a good film. So with that being said, this film is a step in the right direction. Again, when you have a creator put his heart into this film and really wants to pay homage to people that are familiar with the franchise, as well as a phenomenal performer by Alicia Vikander coming to the role with their A game, you get a movie like this. So I think this is a step in the right direction. We have Rampage coming out next month with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, so hopefully that is another movie that just kind of builds momentum before we can get more video game movies like Uncharted, Halo, things like that, Call of Duty done well. So that being said, guys, I'm going to give this film a 3 out of 5. Again, I didn't come in with the highest expectations, but I walked out pretty happy with what I got. It's a fun, entertaining film. Again, Alicia Vikander's performance is phenomenal. This isn't a spoiler, there is a slight kind of, I guess you say, end-credit scene that pays definite homage to the video game fans out there. So again, 3 out of 5 for me. I would recommend checking this movie out when it's wide release next week. So with that, guys, comment below. I want to know, what is your favorite Lara Croft video game if you guys are familiar with the franchise, or if you're not, what is your favorite Alicia Vikander performance that you guys have seen her in so far? So like this video, share, comment below. Also follow us on our social media accounts, which you can find in the description below, as well as what else do we have available for you guys. We just did a review for Thoroughbreds, A Wrinkle in Time, so check those out after you watch this. And then what's coming up next is we'll have our weekly review on The Walking Dead for the Sunday's episode, and then we'll also have an unboxing video for Justice League this Tuesday. So with that, guys, thank you again for tuning in. Like, share, comment below, subscribe to our page, and we will see you guys again shortly.